All right, take number two. Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Mike Colwell with the Investigative Services Division. It's C-O-L-W-I-L-L. I'm here today to talk to you about the two shootings that occurred yesterday. The first shooting that we investigated occurred at 2:33 p.m. and was at 902 North Prairie Avenue. It is a house that is located on the northeast corner of Prairie Avenue and 1st Street. At that location, there were 3 shooting victims. The first victim was a 30-year-old male who was shot in the face and the right shoulder. We believe that individual was the intended target of the shooting. Also shot was a 18-year-old female who was shot in the left arm at that residence, and a 52-year-old female who was shot at that residence in the head. All 3 patients were transported from that residence to a local hospital where they received treatment, and at this time they're all expected to recover. Based on that investigation, we did develop a suspect description. That suspect was located in close proximity to the shooting by officers that were swarming the area. That subject was brought down to the law enforcement where we continued our investigation, which is how we're able to say that we believe that the 30-year-old male victim was the intended target of the shooting. While we were conducting that investigation, we received a second call of a shooting in close proximity on Prairie Avenue. That call occurred at 7:54 p.m. When we responded, that call was at 800 North Prairie Avenue, which is a house that's on the corner of 2nd Street and Prairie Avenue. At that location, we did discover a 40-year-old male subject who was deceased from a single gunshot wound to the head. We believe that the 2 shootings are related based on our investigation and the information that we received during that investigation. The same caliber of handgun was used in all 4 shootings. That is a 9mm handgun. And based on our investigation, we did learn that the suspect made entry into the house at the corner of 2nd Street and Prairie, thinking that he was at the residence of the 30-year-old male subject who was his intended target. When he made entry into that residence, he was confronted by the homeowner who he startled. There was a short altercation, and he did shoot the homeowner 1 time in the head. And unfortunately, that homeowner was discovered by someone in his family, who then called law enforcement, and we responded out to that shooting. So really tragic situation. Any questions in regards to the shooting?
So the incident at 800 North Prairie, though it came in at 7:50, 7:54, happened prior to the one at 902? Yes,
like chronologically, the shooting at 800 North Prairie took place first. Then the suspect went to the 900 North Prairie Avenue address where the second shooting took place, where his intended target was.
Now, yesterday afternoon, a person was detained. Has that person since been charged?
Yep, so that person has been arrested, and that individual is Alton Ray Bear. First name is spelled A-L-T-O-N. Middle is Ray, R-A-Y. Last of Bear, B-E-A-R. He is a 45-year-old male, Sioux Falls resident, and he is going to be charged with, in conjunction with both incidents, 2 counts of first-degree burglary, felon in possession of a firearm, commission of a felony while armed with a firearm, 3 counts of aggravated assault, attempted murder, murder in the 1st degree, murder in the 2nd degree, and manslaughter first. Alton is also a individual who is on parole for previous assaultive behavior, and parole did put an attempt to locate out for him on June 28th.
Does that make him an absconder, or?
So technically, I don't believe they would classify him as an absconder because they didn't obtain a warrant for him as such. But they did enter him as someone who they were attempting to locate and speak with.
Now you said that the victim was the intended target. What led you to that?
So based on our investigation, we received information that there was a disagreement between the suspect and the 30-year-old intended target in regards to the suspect believing the 30-year-old intended target had possibly assaulted someone else in his family.
Is the suspect related to those in the second household, the 902 address?
They are not related.
Not related, but they happen to know each other.
Yes.
Was there anybody else inside the 902 residence at the time?
There were 2 children in the residence at 902 at the time of the shooting.
And where are those children now?
I believe those children are back with their family. Oh, yep, I apologize. The victim from the 800 North Prairie Avenue shooting is first of Tracy, Tracy, last of Saboe, Saboe. He's a 40-year-old male Sioux Falls resident.
You touched on this briefly, but can you just elaborate on the tragedy of going to the wrong house and poor citizen?
Well, obviously both shootings at both houses are just a huge tragedy and devastating for all of the families involved. But for the individual whose wife basically came home at almost 8 o'clock and found her loved one deceased on the floor, I'm sure that's just completely overwhelming for them and their family. And we just, we feel for them, and we also feel for the individuals at 900 North Prairie that were also the victims of the shooting.
Is there anything to indicate this might be related to drugs or anything like that?
We don't have any information at this time that the shooting is drug related. We, based on our investigation, believe that the shooting is in regards to the assault that the suspect believes occurred.
The victim, he said, was shot in the head. Was it a graze? If there's a plan to recover, was it just a graze or was it a direct hit?
I believe one of the victims, the 30-year-old that was shot in the head, that wound actually was a penetrating wound, and I believe the female who was shot in the head would be more of a grazing wound, yes. Any other questions in regards to the shooting?
Did video surveillance of the home help out on this?
We were able to obtain some video surveillance. I'm not going to get into exactly how we got that, but we always go out and try to find any kind of electronic surveillance when a big incident like this occurs, and that was important to our investigation.
Who all did you have out there? Did you have SWAT?
We did not activate the SWAT team for that. However, there are several SWAT members that are on our patrol division and also in other various units throughout the department. So there were SWAT individuals that had blanketed the area and were actively looking for the subject, but it wasn't a full team activation.
And Mr. Baer, does he live in that area?
I'm not going to get into his exact resident. I'm just going to say that he's a resident of Sioux Falls.
Do you know what he was on parole for?
I believe his previous charge was some sort of assault charge. Any other questions?
But satisfying that, if that's the word, that within 24 hours you can kind of put a pin in this and tell the folks in Sioux Falls that things are taken care of, correct?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to use words like satisfying because it's so tragic for the 2 different families, but it is. We do have a team that just works super hard here for the citizens of Sioux Falls, just throughout every section that we have, and the fact that they were able to work so hard yesterday to try to bring this to a successful conclusion. Just a great team that's out there working for the community, and just really proud of them as a whole.
And was the weapon recovered?
The weapon was recovered, yes.